I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Emily, for about 8 years now. We met in college, got married young, and for most of that time I thought we had a pretty good thing going. She's smart, beautiful, confident, in short, everything I thought I wanted. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but I trusted her, or at least I did. That trust started to crack during our last family cruise. It was supposed to be a relaxing week, just some time away from work, from the city, from our daily grind. We went with my brother Jason and his wife Lisa. Everything was fine at first. We laughed, we drank, we swam, and Emily was acting a little off, but I figured she was just tired or maybe a little seasick. We had a long week planning the trip, and I was trying to enjoy her company, despite the nagging feeling I couldn't shake that something was wrong. But then little things started to bother me. Emily's phone kept buzzing and she was quick to hide it. She'd get up suddenly and disappear into the bathroom or the cabin. I saw her texting someone during dinner, quick and secretive. Nothing I could outright catch her at, but enough to make me suspicious. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe she was just talking to her sister or some girlfriend. It's not like I was being overly paranoid. Yet, one night I was lying in bed trying to sleep when I saw her phone light up on the nightstand. I figured she'd fallen asleep, but curiosity got the better of me. I reached over and grabbed it. The screen lit up with a message. "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was incredible." My stomach dropped. The message was from someone named Jake. No last name, no emoji, just those words. I blinked, thinking maybe I misread. But then there were more texts about meeting up after the cruise, talking about how much they missed each other, planning some secret encounter. I froze. My mind was racing. How could she do this, with my own brother, during a family vacation? My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. I could believe what I was reading. All that time I thought we were solid and she's been sneaking around with him. It made me feel sick, betrayed, humiliated. I wanted to confront her right then, but I knew I had to get proof. I needed to be sure before I blew everything up. I snuck out of bed quietly and grabbed her phone. I wanted to see if there was more. And there was. Dozens of messages, photos, even a few explicit ones. I saw her kissing him, touching him, things I should have been the only one doing. The worst part, she wasn't even trying to hide it. She and Jason had been doing this for weeks, maybe longer, and I was just a fool for not noticing sooner. The entire marriage felt like a lie. Everything I believed in shattered in that moment. I sat there, staring at her phone, trying to process what I'd just found. My mind was swirling with anger, confusion, and heartbreak. How could she lie so easily? How could she pretend to be this perfect wife when she was out screwing my brother? It was like some sick joke, and I was the punchline. I don't think I slept that night. All I could do was replay the images in my head, wonder how long this had been going on, and think about how I was going to face her in the morning. The next morning was the worst kind of hell. I woke up before her, my mind still stuck on the night before. I kept going over everything I saw, her texts, the photos, the way her fingers fumbled when she lied about where she was going or who she was texting. I knew I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I had to confront her, but I also knew I had to do it carefully, methodically. I didn't want her to spin some story or deny everything outright. I waited until she got out of bed to shower, then I grabbed her phone again. I needed to be sure this wasn't some crazy misunderstanding or a prank. I went through everything carefully, trying to keep my emotions in check, but honestly, I was shaking with rage. The proof was there, proof I couldn't deny or explain away. It was all right there in her messages, her photos. I felt my stomach turn. I couldn't believe I had trusted her for so long, only to find out she'd been playing me this entire time. When she finished in the shower, I called her into the bedroom. She came in looking all bright-eyed and innocent, and I just stared at her. I could see the moment her smile faltered when she caught the look in my eyes. I didn't say a word at first. I just held out her phone, showing her everything. Her face went pale, and for a second she looked genuinely stunned. Then, like a switch, her attitude changed. "Oh, Mike," she said, rolling her eyes, voice dripping with that bitchy tone she always uses when she's annoyed. "Really? That's what you're upset about? A stupid text? It's nothing, just some dumb joke, you know how Jake is, it's not a big deal." I looked at her, feeling my blood boil. Nothing, nothing. Then why are there pictures of you kissing him? Texts talking about how much you miss him, how you're planning to see him after this cruise. How long has this been going on? She crossed her arms, her face flashing that familiar condescension. Oh, please, you're blowing this out of proportion. It's just sex, Mike. Just sex, you know. It doesn't mean anything. I made a mistake, yeah, but it's not some big betrayal. You're overreacting. That was the moment I realized she didn't get it. She didn't see this as a mistake, not really. She saw it as nothing more than a fling, something she could brush off because she was bored or stressed. But I knew better. I saw her true colors. That bitchy attitude, her lying, the way she dismissed what was obviously a serious affair, made me want to scream. I wanted to shake her and ask how she could treat our marriage like it was some game. I felt my jaw tight, and I had to fight the urge to lose my temper. Instead, I told her to get out, to pack her bags and leave. She rolled her eyes again, kept up that act, and told me I was overreacting, that I was making a scene over nothing. That's when I lost it. I told her I'd had enough, that I saw everything, and I wasn't going to pretend it was okay. I told her I knew she'd been lying for weeks, maybe longer, and that she was nothing but a selfish, dishonest bitch. That's when she started crying, fake tears, the kind she's good at. She said she was sorry, that it was just a mistake, that she loved me and she never meant to hurt me. She kept saying she was sorry, that she'd stop, that she'd never do it again. But I wasn't buying it, not anymore. I knew she'd lie her way out of it just like she always did. I was done. I told her she was leaving and to never come back. I packed her bags myself, feeling numb, like I was watching everything I built fall apart in front of me. The emotional devastation was overwhelming. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, and all I wanted was to wake up from this nightmare. I kept replaying that moment in my head, the look in her eyes, the way she dismissed everything I brought up. It hit me. My wife, the person I trusted with my life, had been screwing my brother for who knows how long. All those memories, all that love, suddenly felt like a lie. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to move on from this, but I knew I couldn't stay in that house with her anymore. I had to get away. I had to process what just happened, and I had to figure out what the hell was next. After she left, I felt like I was walking around in a daze. The house was too quiet, too empty without her fake smiles and constant chatter. I spent the first couple of hours just staring at the spots on the wall, trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong so fast. My mind kept circling back to that stupid promise I made when we got married, to stand by her, to trust her no matter what. And look where that got me. I knew I had to do something about my brother, Jason. I didn't want to confront him right away, but I knew the damage was done. I couldn't pretend I didn't see everything. I felt betrayed by both of them, her because of her lies and cheating, and him because, well, because he was supposed to be my brother, the guy I grew up with, the guy I trusted. And now I had this gnawing feeling that this wasn't some one-time thing. It was more like a pattern that had been going on behind my back for a while. I couldn't just sit around and feel sorry for myself, though. I needed a plan. I decided I'd take some time to cool off, to think about what I wanted to do next. I knew I couldn't stay in that house, not with her things still there, her scent still lingering. I called a friend I trust, Nick, and told him everything. I needed someone to talk to, someone who wouldn't sugarcoat it. Nick was sympathetic, but he also told me to be careful. "You're hurt," he said, "but don't let the anger make you do something you'll regret. You gotta think this through." That's good advice, but honestly, all I wanted was to make her pay. I was furious, furious at her for lying, furious at my brother for screwing her, furious at myself for ever trusting her in the first place. That anger boiled inside me, but I knew I had to keep a level head if I wanted to come out of this with some dignity intact. Over the next few days, I started to gather more evidence. I went through her phone again just to make sure I hadn't missed anything. I found texts from her friends, her work contacts, even some from her so-called best girlfriend, who apparently didn't know what was really going on. I also checked her social media. Nothing revealing there, but I knew her pattern. She always kept her secrets close, hiding the worst from the world. Meanwhile, I kept replaying everything. I kept thinking about how she lied to my face, how she dismissed it all as just sex, like it was nothing. That really hurt. It made me question everything. Were we even married? Did I mean anything to her? The more I thought about it, the more I realized that I deserved better, better than someone who could cheat, lie, and manipulate like she did. One thing I couldn't shake was the image of her with Jason. That picture, the texts, it all painted a clear picture. She didn't see me as her husband anymore. She saw Jason as her escape, her secret lover. It made me sick to my stomach. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I could have been so blind. It was a hard pill to swallow, and I knew that moving forward I'd have to confront not just her but also the fact that my own family was involved in this mess. I decided I wouldn't be the fool who gets played twice. I was going to take control of the situation. I needed to talk to Jason, not just to confront him but to understand what was going on in his head. How could he do this to me, to his brother? I felt a burning need for answers, even if I knew it wouldn't be easy or pretty. But first, I wanted her to know I wasn't going down without a fight. I was done being the naive guy. This was war, and I was ready to fight for what was left of my dignity. A few days after she left, I finally decided I couldn't just sit around waiting for things to blow over. I needed to act, to make her understand that I wasn't some fool to be played and discarded. First, I reached out to Jason, my brother. I told him I needed to talk face to face, that it was urgent. I could hear the hesitation in his voice, but I wasn't in the mood for games anymore. We agreed to meet at a bar later that night. The moment I saw him walk in, I felt a surge of anger. He looked just as guilty, eyes darting away when I looked directly at him. I didn't waste any time. I laid everything out. The texts, the pictures, what I saw on her phone. I told him I knew about the affair, that I knew they'd been cheating behind my back during our cruise and probably long before that. He tried to deny it at first, giving some lame excuse about how it was just sex and that it didn't mean anything. That only made me angrier. I told him, flat out, that I didn't care if it was just sex or not. It was the betrayal, the lying, the disrespect. I felt like my trust had been shattered into a million pieces, and I didn't see any way to fix it anymore. He looked uncomfortable, shifting in his seat, but there was that familiar arrogance in his eyes, like he thought he could get away with it. I told him I never wanted to see him again, that I was done pretending we were brothers, that I'd cut him out of my life if that's what it took to get some peace. I wasn't just angry. I was hurt on a level I'd never experienced before. My own brother, the one I thought I knew, had betrayed me too. That night, I went home feeling emptier than I ever had. I kept thinking about her, about Jason, about everything I thought I knew about my family. It all seemed so fragile now, like a house of cards ready to fall. I realized I had to decide what to do about the marriage, about my future. Could I forgive her? Could I ever trust her again? Honestly, I didn't think so. The trust was gone, shattered by her lies and her betrayal. The next step was confronting her directly. I didn't want her to think she could come back and just sweep this all under the rug. I called her, told her I wanted to talk, to finally get everything out in the open. She was defensive, trying to deny everything again, but I cut her off. I told her I had seen the messages, the photos, everything, that I knew she had been cheating on me with Jason. Her tone changed, suddenly defensive and sarcastic. "Oh, Mike," she said, voice dripping with faux innocence. "You're being so dramatic, it's not what you think. I made a mistake, sure, but it's not like I love him or anything. It was just sex. It doesn't mean I want to leave you or ruin everything we have." That was the moment I realized her lie. She was trying to minimize it, make it sound insignificant, but I knew better. It wasn't just about sex. It was about her choosing someone else over me, over what we built. Her words, her tone, they all sounded hollow, like she was trying to manipulate me into forgiving her. But I wasn't falling for it. I told her to get her things and leave. I said I didn't want to see her again until she was ready to own up and be honest. She fought me on it, called me crazy, said I was overreacting, that I was the one pushing her away. But I wasn't going to let her spin this anymore. I was done being the idiot who turned the other cheek. That night I sat alone in the living room, staring at the empty space where she used to be. My mind kept racing, thinking about everything that led up to this, every lie she told, every moment I missed the signs. I felt a deep sense of betrayal, but also a strange clarity. I knew I had to cut ties and move on. No matter how much it hurt, I had to rebuild myself from this mess. I promised myself I'd never let someone like her do this to me again. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and introspection. I threw myself into action, trying to get my head around what had happened and what I needed to do next. I called my boss, took a few days off, and started packing up her things. Every item I boxed felt like a reminder of how much I'd trusted her, how much I'd invested in this marriage. Now, all that was left was debris and broken promises. I made a plan to leave the house, not just for her sake, but for mine. I couldn't stay in that place filled with her lies, her scent, her ghost everywhere. I found a temporary apartment and I moved out with her stuff packed away. I didn't want her to think I was giving her any space to come back and manipulate me again. I wanted her gone, out of my life as much as possible. The hardest part was dealing with the emotional fallout. I'd never felt so betrayed, so humiliated. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it coming, how I could have been so blind. I was angry at her, furious at Jason, but mostly I was angry at myself for trusting her so blindly for so long. It felt like I'd been living in a dream, and now that dream had turned into a nightmare. I reached out to a few close friends, people who knew us well. Most of them were shocked, but they told me I deserved better. They reminded me that I was a good man, that I shouldn't let her mess with my head. Still, it didn't make the pain go away. It just made me realize I was going to have to do some serious rebuilding, not just of my house, but of my self-esteem, my sense of trust, my whole outlook. Part of me wanted to go into full revenge mode. I wanted her to feel what I was feeling, to see how much she'd hurt me, but I also knew that wouldn't bring me peace. Revenge might feel good in the moment, but it wouldn't fix what was broken inside. So I decided to focus on healing, on moving forward, no matter how hard that was. One thing that kept bothering me was the fact that she kept insisting it was just sex, that she didn't love him, that it was a mistake. But I knew better now. I knew that a betrayal like that, cheating with my own brother, wasn't just about sex. It was about her choosing someone else over us, over our life. That realization cut deep. I wasn't just hurt, I was devastated. How could I ever trust her again? How could I ever look at her the same way? I also started planning how to confront Jason again, this time with more clarity. I needed to know if this was just a fling or if there was more behind it. I wanted to understand what made him cross that line, why he betrayed his brother. But more than anything, I wanted him to know that their betrayal had cost me everything I cared about. I never thought I'd be that guy, divorced, betrayed, broken. But here I was, rebuilding after the storm. As I sit here now, reflecting on everything, I realize I've learned something harsh but important. Trust is fragile. It takes years to build, seconds to destroy. And when it's gone, no amount of apologies or lies can bring it back. I've lost a lot. The woman I loved, my brother's respect, my peace of mind. But somehow I also feel a strange sense of freedom. I'm not going to let this define me. I'll heal, I'll move on, and someday I hope to find someone who values honesty and loyalty. Until then, I have to pick up the pieces and rebuild myself from the wreckage she left behind. It's been a few weeks since I kicked her out, and honestly, it's been the hardest time of my life. I won't lie, I've had moments where I just sat there, feeling empty, questioning everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and family. The betrayal cut deeper than I ever imagined, and every day has been a battle between anger, sadness, and a strange sense of relief that I finally see the truth. I've been focusing on myself now. Going to therapy helped a lot. I needed to process all this, understand how I let things get so bad, and figure out how to move forward. It's not easy, and I still have days where I feel like I'm stuck in a nightmare, but I know I'm stronger than I was. I've learned that sometimes you have to hit rock bottom before you can start climbing back up. And right now, I'm slowly building a new life, one where honesty, respect, and loyalty are the foundation, things I thought I had in my marriage, but clearly I never really did. Looking back, I realize how much I trusted her, maybe too much. I was naive, thinking that love alone could fix everything, that if I just loved her enough, she'd stop lying or cheating or whatever else she was doing. But love isn't enough when the other person doesn't respect you. That's a hard lesson to learn, and I hope someone out there reading this takes it to heart. Don't ignore the signs. Do. Brush off your gut feelings. Because once trust is broken, no matter how much you want to fix it, it's usually impossible to truly get it back. As for Jason, I've decided to cut him out of my life completely. No more conversations, no more explanations. He betrayed me and I can't forget that. I don't hate him, but I do hate what he did. The bond I thought we had was a lie, and I refuse to be the fool who keeps pretending everything's okay. Sometimes honesty hurts. Sometimes you have to walk away from people you thought were family if they don't value you enough to be honest. I've also come to accept that I was a victim here, but I don't want to stay a victim forever. I learned that I am stronger than I believed, and I can survive even the worst betrayals. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about reclaiming my life and dignity. I've started focusing on my career, reconnecting with old friends, and trying to rebuild a sense of purpose. I want to prove to myself that I'm more than just someone who was betrayed. I'm someone who can heal, who can grow, who can find happiness again. Looking at everything now, I realize that the greatest lesson I learned isn't just about betrayal, it's about self-respect. Never let someone treat you like you're disposable. Never ignore the signs, and never settle for less than you deserve. Because in the end, the only person who can truly save you from heartbreak is yourself. I won't forget what happened, but I will use it to become a better, stronger man. And someday, I hope to find someone who values me, who treats me with the respect I deserve. Until then, I'll keep moving forward, one step at a time.